Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dive in.
Well, today we're going deep into the world of one fascinating little creature,
Oh, yeah.
the panda ant.
Interesting. When I first saw that on our list, I was like,
I know.
a whole deep dive.
I thought the same thing, a whole deep dive on a single insect, but
Right.
then I started looking through the research from pasted text, and I realized, wow,
Yeah.
there's a lot to unpack here.
Absolutely. Yeah. The panda ant is a creature that really makes you rethink, first impressions.
It really does. I mean, the name itself, Panda Ant, you think, oh, cute, cuddly, like little tiny panda bear. But then you find out it's got this nickname, Cow Killer,
Right.
and it's like, wait, hold on.
Yeah, that took a dark turn.
So how do we even start to figure out this?
Well, I think the best place to start is with kind of the biggest misconception, right?
Okay.
The panda ant, or Euspinolia militaris.
Try saying that 3 times fast.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's not actually an ant at all.
It's not.
Nope.
Okay.
It's a type of wasp, and it belongs to the velvet ant family.
Velvet ant family, that's a new one for me.
Yeah, they're known for having a pretty powerful sting.
Okay, so I'm guessing those velvety soft hairs aren't quite as cuddly as they sound.
No, not really. And that striking black and white pattern that we see?
Yeah.
That's actually what we call aposematic coloration. It's like a big warning sign to predators.
Right.
Saying, hey, I'm dangerous, back off.
It's basically like nature's version of a hazard sign,
Right.
like bright yellow, danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that nickname, cow killer, it's pretty effective. You don't really see too many predators trying to mess with these guys.
No, I wouldn't want to, even if it's not actually lethal to cows or to humans for that matter, unless you're allergic.
Right. It's more about that initial, like, I don't want to mess with this.
Deterrent.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this wasp masquerading as an ant, dressed up in black and white.
Yeah.
But our notes also mention something about not all panda ants looking alike.
That's right. There's actually a pretty big difference between the males and the females. It's what we call sexual dimorphism.
So like size, shape, fill me in.
Exactly. The females are the ones that really have that classic ant-like look, wingless, spend their time scurrying around on the ground.
Okay.
And you'll mainly find them in those drier parts of South America, Chile, parts of Argentina, those kind of places.
Gotcha. So they like it hot and dry.
They do. The males, on the other hand, they're a bit bigger. They've got wings, and they're a lot harder to spot. You don't see them out and about as much.
So the females are the ones that are really holding down the fort, so to speak.
You could say that.
I mean, it's amazing how those different evolutionary pressures can shape, the males and females of a species so differently.
It really is. And when you start to learn about their life cycle, it gets even more interesting. They're actually parasitic.
Wait, hold on. Parasitic, like
They rely on other insects to raise their young.
So they like lay their eggs.
Exactly. They target the nests of ground nesting bees and wasps, the ones that make their homes in these little burrows in the ground.
Okay.
And when those panda ant larvae hatch,
Yeah.
they feed on the host's larvae. Eventually, they don't make it.
Wow, that's pretty hardcore. I mean, I guess in the animal world, you got to do what you got to do to survive.
You do, and it really makes you think about how even a creature as small as the panda ant can have a big impact on the ecosystem.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a chain reaction.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're controlling the populations of these other insects, and that must have some kind of ripple effect through the whole food web.
It does. It really highlights those intricate connections between species and how important it is to protect the balance of these ecosystems.
And that brings us to something else that stood out in the research, the potential threats to the panda ant, like habitat loss.
Right. Human activity has a big impact. Things like deforestation, urbanization, even climate change, they all pose a risk.
So it's like, even though they're not considered endangered right now, they're still walking a bit of a tightrope.
They are. Their survival is really tied to the health of their environment.
So as we wrap things up, I always like to ask, what's the big takeaway here? What do we want our listeners to remember about the panda ant?
I think it's a reminder that appearances can be deceiving. We see this cute, fuzzy little creature, and then we learn it's a fierce predator with a powerful sting. It really underscores that idea of not judging a book by its cover.
It definitely makes you think twice about those first impressions. And it also reminds us that even the tiniest creatures play a vital role in their ecosystems, and that protecting those ecosystems is crucial for the well-being of all the species that depend on them.
Exactly. And maybe something our listeners can consider. How might these changes in our climate, these global shifts, impact this tiny but mighty creature, the panda ant? And how does that ripple effect spread out and touch other species, including our own?
Something to think about for sure. Well, that brings us to the end of another deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored the surprising world of the panda ant.
Always a pleasure.